Welcome. Today we're going to talk about circles and the equation of a circle. The standard form of the equation of a circle with radius r and centered at the origin, 0, 0, is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So if I want to find the center and radius of these equations, we know the center is at 0, 0, because it's in this form. The radius is going to be the square root, because this is r squared. The square root of r squared is r. So square root of 121 is 11. Now, they don't always come out so nice and neat. The center of this one is still 0, 0, but the radius is going to be the square root of 34, and that doesn't simplify. 2 times 17. There's no simplification of that square root. So that would be your answer in that problem. So square root of what it equals is your radius and 0, 0. Now if we have this example where we are asked to graph them, and I'm not going to ask you to graph any tonight, but if I asked you to graph it, we know the center is at 0, 0 again. Well, that's great and that's easy to work with, but the radius is square root of 36, which is 6. So in each direction of the 4 basic directions, I'm going to go out a radius of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 6. And there's the start of your circle. Now the rest of it is either a drawing tool or freehand. And freehand, mine tend to look more like a diamond than a circle. But I'll do my best to arc it out. Yeah, see, that one came out more flat-sided. Close enough. That's a circle. And you see how it's not easy to draw a circle. In fact, one of the things that is rumored to have happened is an engraver, to win his spot at being the best engraver, went to the board, freehand drew a perfect circle, and put a dot in the exact center. And he won the contest. I don't know if that's a true story or not. All right. Here is our next example. Write the equation of the circle given the center and radius. Well, if I've got the center and the radius, we know it's x squared plus y squared equals r3 squared. Or x squared plus y squared equals 9. And that would be your final answer. Down here, we have write the equation of the circle given the center and a point on the circle. Now, to be able to do that, I need to know the distance formula so I can find radius, or the distance from the center to the point, which is the radius. So r, that distance, is the square root of the difference between the x values. So I'm going to put the 4 first. Squared. Plus the difference between the y values, squared. So there's your distance formula. So square root of 4 squared plus 2 squared, I should put parentheses, and that's the square root of 16 plus 2, or square root of 20. And that is your radius, the square root of 20. So x squared plus y squared equals square root of 20 squared. Well, the square root being squared is just what's inside. So x squared plus y squared equals 20 is your final answer. What if it's not centered at 0, 0, but some other point like hk? Now we use h and k as the x and y values when we're not centering at 0, 0. So the general form for a center to HK with a radius of r is x minus h, notice the minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And now I've got one like that. I want to know what is the center and the radius. Well, the center is going to be opposite what it looks like here, because it's minus the h. So what am I subtracting? I'm subtracting a positive 5. In this case, I'm adding, so if I had to think how I would subtract a negative is the same as add a positive, so this is a negative 8. Or you can just say to yourself, it's opposite what it looks like. This looks like negative 5, so it's positive. It looks like positive 8, it's negative. The radius is the square root of r squared, so the square root of 6, and that cannot be simplified, so we're done. Rewriting in standard form. This requires the use of the complete the square. So we've done that before. Notice I've left a gap between the x and the x squared and the x term, those two, and the y squared terms. Because to complete the square, I'm going to add something here squared, and I'm going to add something here squared. Now I have to balance that. I'm going to have to shift this whole thing. I'm going to have to balance that by adding those things squared over here. Now remember, complete the square, you take the coefficient without the sign, the absolute value of the coefficient of the x term, cut it in half, and that's what you're adding squared, so 3. Same thing here, we're going to cut 4 in half and square it 2. So 3 and 2. This here is going to be written as something squared. Plus this here is something squared. X minus, sign of the middle term, number being squared, 3. Y, sign of the middle term, plus thing being squared, 2. And on the other side, we've got 7, 9, and 4, and that adds up to 20. So my center is going to be at 3, negative 2. That's not a very good 2. Let's fix that. And my radius is going to be square root of 20. We know that simplifies. 4 times 5, 2 times 2 times 5. I got a pair of 2's, 2 square root 5. There's my radius. This one's a little tricky, so I don't expect you to do it on your own, but if you think you're ready for it, give it a try. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do in this problem is I'm actually going to take this 8 and get it on the other side. X squared plus 7x, leave a gap, plus y squared minus 9y equal, leave a gap, equals 3. Now let's continue this. I have to add something squared. And I'm going to balance it by adding it squared on the other side. Half of 7 is 7 over 2. Half of 9 is 9 over 2. X plus 7 over 2 squared, y minus 9 over 2 squared. Sign of the middle term, variable being squared, expression being squared. Variable squared, sign of the middle term, expression being squared, equals. Now, 7 over 2 squared is 49 over 2. 9 over 2 is 81 over 2. And, oops, sorry, not over 2, over 4. And then to make this able to add with the others, it's 12 over 4. When I add that up, I believe that is 142 over 4. Let's just double check that. 49 plus 81 plus 12. Yep, 142 over 4. All right. Now, I could simplify that. That's 35 and a half, I believe. Yes. But for purposes of finding the radius, now we know the center is going to be at -7/2, +9/2. The radius is going to be the square root of this. Let me just erase that for the moment. The square root of 142 over 4 is the square root of 142 over the number 2. Now, we said this is 35.5 or 35 and a half. Okay. 142 divided by 2, that only gives me 71. And I think that's a prime number. And it certainly isn't something that's has a factor that is a perfect square. So we're just going to leave our radius like that. It could be the square root of 35.5, but that's the same as this, and this is the most precise way of writing it, so we're going to leave it like that. And there is your center and your radius. Not so pretty, but it certainly is an answer. All right, I believe that's it for today. Yes, it is. So, have a great day.